ABC News 4 at 5 starts now.
While she was being attacked, Brittany Todd told her daughter Heidi to run and hide. This just one of many new details shared by the FBI and documents released today.
According to jail records, Thomas Lawton Evans Jr. was just released from prison on February 1st. Now, 14 days later, he is facing federal kidnapping charges.
Evans served only 8 years of a 10-year sentence. Why was he out? We'll answer that question for you in 2 minutes.
But first, new at 5, we have the federal affidavit. It gives us our first look into exactly what happened on Sweet Leaf Lane. Officials say Evans attacked Heidi's mother from behind as she was going into her home. They say she had just dropped off her 2 oldest children at school. This happened around 8 Tuesday morning. They say Todd suffered facial fractures and brain bleeding and at one point was tied up. Officials did not get to her until just before 6 that night. That is when they say they discovered Heidi was missing. It then triggered a 22-hour search by air, land, and water.
This is video of Heidi from last night. The 4-year-old has been reunited with her father this afternoon. You could only imagine what that must have been like. Tears, hugs, and plenty of I love yous.
Now there will be a healing process for this young family. Ann Emerson spoke with psychologists at MUSC today about what that recovery will look like. Ann?
That's right. It's been a terrifying week for the Todd family, and as they come together and try and process what's happened, as grateful and relieved as they are for having everybody together again, it's going to take time to process, say the psychologists. And as law enforcement begins to piece together the events that led up to Heidi Todd's kidnapping this week, here's what we do know from the affidavit. She was forcibly removed from the home she shared with her family in a violent manner.
She's in an incredibly acute phase because she was just taken from her mom and she witnessed a very violent and scary event. And I would anticipate that she's going to have extreme fear. She's going to be afraid to be separated from mom.
And now a statement from the family, from the Todd family. I cannot thank enough all the first responders and especially the individual in Alabama who personally rescued Heidi and brought her back to us. We'll be counting on your continued prayers and support and ask that you give us the privacy and room to reunite as a family. Coming up at 6, we will tell you ways that you can help lower the anxiety in your own family when they hear these kind of events and how to process it. Working for you, Ann Emerson, ABC News 4.
Hey, Ann, thank you. We are not sure exactly when Evans left Charleston, but investigators do say that he used a debit card in Georgia, which is located here. They're in Greensboro, and that happened around 7:30 yesterday morning. They say the video showed a white male wearing a blue T-shirt trying to use the card, but he could not be ID'd by police due to the angle of that camera.
Yeah, and then 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Heidi was found right here in Riverside, Alabama, and then Evans was caught in DeKalb, Mississippi, just north of Philadelphia, Mississippi, over the Alabama border last night. That means they traveled that nearly 600 miles in around 24 hours.
As we said earlier, Evans had just been released from prison February 1st. 2 weeks later, he's charged with kidnapping. Our Angela Brown has been going through that criminal record tonight. Angela, what did you learn?
Well, today I spoke with officials from the State Department of Probation, Parole, and Pardon Services. They tell me by law, inmates who are convicted of violent offenses serve 85% of their sentence in prison, the rest under something called community supervision. Now, Evans had already served 8.5 years for armed robbery and burglary. He was sentenced to 10 years in 2009. Officials say he had a home in Spartanburg County where he was going to serve out the remainder of that sentence. Officials say during the 2 weeks he was out, he met their requirements.
What we do in their initial entry, their first interview, is we had already checked on it, verified his residence, checked on that, and gone out there and determined that it was okay for him to live there. And what they do is they come out of prison, and then we interview them. We say, okay, what kind of services do you need a job?
And O'Boyle believes that Evans may have had a home or office visit scheduled for this week or next. Once again, he was convicted and had served time for armed robbery and burglary, but he had a long criminal history. In fact, I'm holding 8 pages right here of his criminal history that was given to us by SLED. Coming up at 6, we're going to go through more parts of this criminal history and also what he's accused of doing while he was in prison. Working for you tonight, Angela Brown.
Angela, thank you. We have been following this story from the very beginning. For the latest updates 24 hours a day, wherever you are, you can download our ABC News 4 app. It is on Google Play and in the Apple Store. Summer in February. Sounds like a Broadway hit, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Nope.
A little bit.
Just another crazy day in the low country.
Our chief meteorologist, Dave Williams, joining us with more on the forecast. And very warm today, Dave.
Yeah, almost up to the record high. We hit at least 80 degrees and the record high is 82. We'll have to wait for those numbers to come in. They should be in within just a few minutes. It was close, but I think we fell a degree or two shy. A look outside and just beautiful bright sunshine out there. The George Sink Injury Lawyers Skyview Network showing us Edisto Beach. It's 74 at the Charleston Airport. Very nice with a few clouds out there, and we will keep some clouds in the sky overnight tonight. Our temperature is staying nice and mild. Everyone is still in the 70s. The farther inland you head, the warmer it is because the Atlantic Ocean right now sitting about 56 degrees. We've got 77, popular number for everyone from Moncks Corner to Somerville, Walterboro, and back toward Orangeburg. There are those few clouds drifting through. It's not a whole lot, and we will see a mixture of sunshine and clouds right on into our Friday, and that means another warm day tomorrow. In fact, tomorrow could be a couple degrees warmer. 67 degrees at 7 p.m., 65 at 9, 64 at 11, so you probably don't even need the jacket as you head out the door tonight. Tomorrow morning, maybe, but it's going to stay pretty mild, and I don't see a whole lot of winter anywhere in our forecast. We'll take a look at that full 7-day and your SeaWe forecast. That's coming up in just a few minutes.
This on-time traffic report is sponsored by Fred Anderson Toyota of Charleston.
We do have a crash to tell you about 526 westbound there on the Don Holt Bridge. Doesn't appear to be slowing things down too much, which is certainly good news on this Thursday afternoon. So that commute from Mount Pleasant to West Ashley on 526 westbound, right around 30 minutes if you're headed eastbound. A little bit easier commute for you, only 21 minutes. A live look out on the roadways right now takes us there to 526 on the Don Holt Bridge. Eastbound traffic heading away from us. Things look great there. Again, a little bit stop and go in those westbound directions, but not anything out of the ordinary this time of day.
In the last 30 minutes, officials say the accused Florida school shooter has confessed to the crime.
The sheriff of Broward County in Florida is giving an update on that shooting right now. Meanwhile, tonight we're learning more about the 17 people killed in yesterday's shooting.
Alyssa Al-Haftef was a member of Parkland Travel Soccer. Jamie Gutenberg was also killed. Her brother made it out safely.
Senior swimmer Nicholas DeWarrett was set to go to the University of Indianapolis, and the geography teacher Scott Beagle died trying to save his students.
Mr. Beagle was my hero, and he still will forever be my hero. I will never forget the actions that he took for me and for fellow students in the classroom.
Hundreds of people honored their lives at a vigil in Coral Springs today. Coming up at 5:30 in our newscast, hear the response from officials on the 18th school shooting this year alone, plus the connection the suspect allegedly has to a white supremacist group.
Tomorrow, first period, something will happen. Police say that message on a Snapchat triggered a code yellow at Lang Middle School Monday. A second message said 928, and a third, quote, sorry it has to happen. Officials say they arrested a 12-year-old and charged them with disturbing schools. Several Mount Pleasant schools were on lockdown for around 2 hours. Justice for a slain mother of 3 will take a little longer. Day 3 in the murder trial of Kenneth Lamont Robinson ended unexpectedly today.
Robinson is on trial for the death of Kadena Brown. Officials say she was caught in the crossfire of gang warfare. Our reporter Caroline Balchunas takes us inside the courtroom today.
Court ended earlier than expected today after one of the defense attorneys suddenly became sick. But before that, 2 witnesses testified and explained the chaos and the motive behind the high-speed chase and deadly shooting. Keon Anderson and Richard Simmons shuffled in the courtroom wearing jumpsuits and shackles. Both testified they were in the car with Kenneth Robinson chasing after a Chrysler 300, exchanging gunfire on Dorchester Road. At some point, they lost sight of the Chrysler, but not long after, they caught up to the car. Only this time, it wasn't the Chrysler they were after. Inside this Chrysler was Kadena Brown. Robinson and Anderson both say they told Simmons it was the wrong car, but he fired anyway, emptying his clip.
So it wasn't about seeing who's in the car. It was about getting back at somebody. Right? You telling us right now you couldn't even see in the car. And you still shot. Why did you do that?
While Robinson did not fire the fatal shot, prosecutors keep reiterating the phrase, the hand of one is the hand of all. It's the legal theory justifying Robinson's murder charge. There are still at least 3 more witnesses that need to testify before closing arguments can begin. The clerk of courts confirms the trial will resume on Tuesday. Reporting in downtown Charleston, I'm Caroline Balchunas.
A coffee shop with a twist of humanity will take you to the counter of Biddy & Bo and the unique customer service you can expect.
Plus, remembering a man who preached unity. A community comes together for Moyedin Moye de Baha. Stay with us.
ABC News 4 at 5 starts now.
New at 5:30 tonight, officials say after shooting 17 people at his former high school, he bought a drink at a Subway and made a stop at McDonald's. 19-year-old Nicholas Cruz has confessed to that shooting in Parkland, Florida. He went before a judge today.
Officials say he was expelled from Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, the site of the attack. There are also reports he was part of a white supremacist group called the Republic of Florida. And tonight there are new questions about what the FBI might have known about his troubled past and violence-related posts on social media.
In 2017, the FBI received information about a comment made on a YouTube channel. The comment simply said, "I'm going to be a professional school shooter." No other information was included with that comment.
While there is plenty of reaction tonight to the shooting in Florida, what about action? Lawmakers are being forced to answer if they're doing enough to help prevent these scenes from recurring.
Chief Political Correspondent Scott Thuman brings us the latest on the gun debate from Capitol Hill.
After another school shooting, some of the focus shifting from Florida to Washington with a burning question. What, if anything, will be done?
Whatever you need, whatever we can do to ease your pain.
The debate over gun safety laws intensifies after each incident, but often with little to show.
How many more of these do we have to go through?
Is there something we could have done or should do?
Since the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre, the New York Times says there have been 239 school shootings. The organization Everytown has documented 18 just this year. That's one every 2.5 days.
Remember, we do have laws on the books designed to prevent people with mental illnesses from getting firearms, to design people who have criminal backgrounds from getting firearms. The question is, are those laws working the right way? Are there loopholes that need to be plugged?
Others, specific to background checks, have passed in the House, but linger in the Senate.
None of us control what goes on the floor other than one person, the majority leader of the Senate. So we don't have the ability to bring up a bill.
A common complaint among Democrats who, after the Las Vegas attacks, pushed to ban the devices that allowed for more rapid fire.
I had 2 different pieces of legislation on bump stocks, one to outlaw them altogether and one to regulate them like we regulate machine guns. Neither of those has passed. They wouldn't even do a study on it.
When Congress doesn't act, sometimes local governments do. For example, while those bump stocks weren't banned federally, they have now been in several states. On Capitol Hill, I'm Scott Thuman.
All right, and so the question, has Congress done enough to keep children safe in school? To answer, you can head to our website at abcnews4.com. And also the Associated Press is reporting right now that the school shooter fired into 5 classrooms before dropping his rifle and blending in with students leaving the scene.